If BarkBox teaches you anything, it's that pet owners will spend money on their pets. So in this video, I'm gonna be digging into 6 real-world examples from Facebook Marketplace to show you exactly how people are selling pet clothes effectively or ineffectively. This video is inspired by Olivia, who wanted to learn how to more effectively sell pet clothes on Facebook Marketplace. If you want to see a particular niche, leave a comment for me in the comments below and I'll see if I can get to it. My name's Will and I teach sales, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship every single week. In case you're new to the channel, tell me what your name is and what you're selling on Facebook Marketplace so I can help you out. Digging right in, our first example today is someone that's selling a lot of pet clothes. So in this situation, their title is just pet clothes, and if you've watched my recent videos, you know that this title needs work. So they're not going to score points on the framework in terms of this one, but I would say that they could improve this if they were to just include things like what the condition of the item is, what type of pet clothes there is. So for example, I can see that some of this pet clothes includes things like July 4th or seasonal things, and that would be great to just work into the title like seasonal pet clothes and things like that. The next thing that we dig into in our 7-point framework is price, and we know that this is really clear because it's $38 and it's shipping for $3.75. The next thing we dig into are the photos, and in this situation, the photos are honestly not that great. In fact, what I would say is that they could really improve it by just showing what each of the items actually are. If you're going to be selling a lot of pet clothes, what I recommend you do is you include 1 or 2 photos that has every single thing in the lot together as your first photos, and then follow it up by breaking down specifically what each of the items are individually. In the case where you're selling more than the 10 item max for the photos, what you should do is think about creative ways that you can work things in while still making it abundantly clear to the prospective buyer what they are looking at. The next thing we look at is the item condition, and in this situation, the lister is doing great because they have used the condition tag of like new, so this is abundantly clear. After we look at the condition though, what we want to look at then is whether or not they have stated any clear benefits to the buyer. In this situation, it's not really clear that there are all that many benefits to buying this used or like new pet clothes from them, and so this is something that they could definitely improve upon. Example benefits to the buyer could be like dress your pet for success on every single seasonal event or something like that. Whatever it might be in order to motivate somebody as a prospective buyer to be more interested in your item. As we move on past the benefits to the buyer, the other thing we should be thinking about is whether or not we have advertised some sort of savings to the potential buyer. In this situation, this listing also misses the mark here, and it would have been just really simple to say, for example, how much all of the clothes was originally and how much they're getting it for percentage-wise off for the $38. Lastly, as we look at the payment method, this is actually abundantly clear because they are using Facebook payments for this. So overall, on our 7-point framework, this listing gets 3 points. 1 point for the desired price, 1 point for the item condition, as well as a final point for the preferred payment method in terms of delivery as well. For this second listing today, we've got another lot of pet clothes, but as you can tell right off the bat, this is going to be a much better listing. Right off the bat, the title of it is Pet Clothes Size XS, Different Prices. This is great for the title overall because it has really taken advantage of citing things like what the sizing is, as well as what's going on in this particular listing. It's way more specific than the first example where it was just pet clothes. The only thing that I'd say about this title though is that something that is a little bit confusing is how it's listed for $7. I'm assuming it's $7 per item, but this is not abundantly clear from the listing, and that's something that what I'm wondering is whether or not the cheapest thing in this picture is $7 or if every single thing is $7. So in this example, we are getting points for the title side of things, but we're immediately losing points on the other end of things for making price very clear. Overall, the photos for this listing are so much better, and I really like how this seller has put things against that faux wood backdrop. It makes it really nice in terms of giving a more professional or polished look for the pictures and making it look like I'm serious as a seller here in terms of giving you a quality product. That said, the only area of improvement that I would recommend here is really making that faux wood backdrop consistent throughout all the photos. As you can tell here in that final example, they are not really using that same backdrop in that instance, and so that's something in which they should improve that in the future for this listing. As we move on to the condition is really clear. They are using the tag for like new. Great job here. And then as we dig into benefits for the buyer, this is where this is not so clear, right? There's no clear benefits to the buyer in terms of the use of the product description listing. And then also there's no clear savings angle either. And I feel like for a post that has such good photos like this, that they should really capitalize on the opportunity here. When we look at the payment method, this is super clear because they are using Facebook payments once again. Overall, this listing is a little lackluster in that the description is trying to direct them to another Facebook page of theirs. And if you've seen my recent videos on Facebook Marketplace, you know how much I don't like this because it really detracts from somebody taking the clear call to action to contacting you to buy your item. So this is something that they could improve upon. That being said, a picture says 1,000 words, and I really like how professional the first few photos in this listing are. It's honestly no surprise to me that this seller has 119 positive ratings because it's clear that they know what they're doing to some extent on Facebook. All right, so as we can see from this second listing, this listing is a little bit better than our first listing in that it's gonna get points for the keyword optimized title, it's gonna get points for the photos, the item condition, as well as the payment method. If we were to improve upon it, we should talk more about things like what the actual desired price is for each of the items, as well as benefits to the buyer and the savings angle. Like we've been at it the last few weeks, we're looking for a great listing, and so let's keep looking at a few more examples to see if we can find a listing that tops this score of a 4 out of 7. As we look at our third example today, this will be our last lot of pet clothes that we look at, and in this case, the title is small size dog clothes. Overall, this title is fine. It could be a little bit prettier in terms of properly capitalizing things and whatnot, but it's not gonna make or break things. It would be good if they did include some sort of mention as to the condition of the items here, but overall, it's still better than the first one, so I will give it points for this area. As we move on to the next section, they are using tags properly in which they're saying that it's like new, that's really clear, and the price is also crystal clear here. It is clear that each item is $10, which is a lot clearer than the last one in which it was just listed as $7, but it wasn't really clear if every single thing was actually $7. The only thing that I'm thinking about as I work my way through this price section is there a particular deal that you could potentially be offering as the seller if somebody were to actually buy the entire lot of pet clothes? As we look at some of the photos, these are pretty good in general. I like how each one has their own dedicated photo. The only question I have about these photos though is why that last photo is actually the same thing as the first photo. I'm assuming that this is just a seller error, but this is something that they could improve upon in their listing just to avoid any potential confusion from potential buyers. The other thing that I'd recommend to this seller is to add a little bit of contrast to these pictures to make the items pop a little bit more. You don't have to go overboard, but just adding a little more contrast to these photos would make them stand out a little bit better than they currently do. Overall, that condition is clear. However, everything else at the rest of the framework is unclear. The savings to the buyer are unclear, the actual benefits to the buyer are also unclear, and even the payment method is not clear because I don't actually know what the delivery method is. And so this is something in which overall they would score 4 points out of 7 once again, for this time on keyword optimized title, desired price, the photos, and the item condition. However, they would lose points on the final 3 criteria in our framework. Before we dig into the individual listings that we'll be reviewing for today's Facebook Marketplace video, do me a favor and hit that like button below so that more people selling on Facebook can watch this video and learn these same tips as you. For our first individual listing today, we're looking at a really cute duck dog clothes listing. In this situation, the title is Pet Clothes Size S. The title's fine, it's not great. It could include something that just talks about the duck clothes that the theme is. However, it is better than some of the other ones we've seen today, and so I will give it points even though it should take advantage of the unique thing that they're selling. When you're thinking about titling your post, it can be really great to just think about different ways you can stand out from all the other titles. So it's really important for you to say pet clothes in your title, but also to distinguish your pet clothes listing from everybody else. As we move on to the next thing, the pricing is actually really clear. It's $5 and it ships for $3.75, so they will get points there. Overall, the photos are pretty nice. In fact, I think it's kind of funny how they bait and switch you by using the manufacturer's photos followed by their own photo, but because they're selling this with the condition of new, I think it's overall fine to use the manufacturer's photo as long as they have also included their own photo. Generally speaking, I don't like to use manufacturer's photos because I think it's way more authentic to sell on Facebook Marketplace with your own photos. We just went over how the condition is new, so they get points there. In terms of the benefits to the buyer, this is a little unclear. They do a good job of including dimensions for the pet clothes, which is a lot better than some of the other listings we've seen today, but again, they could hit this point a little bit more directly. In terms of the savings angle, there's no mention of that, so they don't get points there. And then the payment method is clear though, because again, they're using Facebook payments. So with this listing, we are getting just a little bit closer to finding that perfect listing, as this listing scores a 5 out of 7, where they only lost points on the benefits to the buyer and the savings to the buyer. Our fifth example today is a Hello Kitty pet clothes listing. In this case, the title is clearly the best one we've seen all day. It's Hello Kitty dog cat pet clothes dress size X small. This is clearly targeted for keywords, and so this is something that they've done a really great job at in terms of including the sizing, the different pets, and also that key phrase of pet clothes. In this case, the price is also clear. It's $6 and then $3.75 for shipping. And then the photos are also really great. These are probably the best ones we've seen. And the reason why I say that is because they show the tag with a size chart as well as different angles of the clothes. So if you see my other recent Facebook Marketplace videos, you know how important I emphasize that each photo should be revealing some other attribute about the product you're selling. You should not just be taking one photo from the left, one photo from the right, and then be showing the same exact thing. If, for example, you were selling a drawer, you would actually want to open up the drawer and show how far the drawer opens. The same thing applies in pet clothes here, and you can see that with this particular listing. As we move on in our framework, the condition is crystal clear with the tag of new. The benefits to the buyer is not clear, so no points there. However, the savings angle is considered here because they mention how they can create a bundle for combined shipping. And so I'll give a point here because they included that bit in their actual listing itself. Lastly, the payment method is crystal clear because they are using Facebook payments again. I am not surprised in this example that this seller has 243 5-star ratings, because it's really clear that they know what they're doing when they're creating the effective listing, and we can tell that when we run it through our 7-point framework. This listing is a perfect example of why it's worth spending that extra few minutes to refine your listing and create something really professional, because this listing scores 6 out of 7, in which the only thing they're missing out on is just some sort of short line that focuses on the benefits to the buyer. Overall though, A+ job here with a 6 out of 7. That's the highest score for today. Let's see if the final listing we're gonna look at today is going to top this one. For the last example today, we've got a luxury pet clothes listing. I didn't even know that luxury pet clothes really existed, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. In this case, the title is Luxury Pet Pajamas, Fashion Clothes for Small and Medium Dogs. This is great because it fulfills the intent for pet clothes as well as for people that might own small and medium dogs. Full points there. The price is also crystal clear. It's $15 and it's $3.75 for shipping of a pair of these pajamas. In this case, because the item is all the same, in which they're selling one set of pajamas, this is where I'm not going to take off points because they show multiple pictures of the different types of pajamas, versus the earlier case in which it was a lot of clothes in which it might be more unclear as to what exactly I was buying for X dollars. The other thing is the photos are fantastic. As we scroll through this listing, I love how they're actually using real pictures of animals wearing these pajamas to help you actually start to visualize what that might look like for you and your pet. The condition is crystal clear because you can see that you're using the tag of condition new, and also you notice how they start the listing by saying how it's new and sealed. Overall, the benefits to the buyer are not immediately clear in the listing. However, I'm still going to give them points here today because they use their photos to actually demonstrate those benefits to the buyer. They're showing you what it might actually look like for you to have your cute pet, in this particular set of clothes. And so this is another way to communicate those benefits to the buyer. It doesn't have to always be in the form of text. However, on the flip side of things, they don't really include anything in terms of the savings angle. So this is something that I'm honestly not surprised they aren't doing, because they're positioning themselves as luxury pet clothes. In no other listing today have we seen something listed for $15 for the item itself. In most situations, it's been $10 or less. And so it makes sense that they don't have some sort of savings angle for the potential buyer here. Lastly, when it comes to preferred payment method, this is really clear because they are using Facebook payments. It's no surprise again in this situation that this seller has over 200 positive reviews, because it's really clear that they know what it takes to make a really effective listing. So overall, on the 7-point framework, this listing scores another 6 out of 7, with the only reason why they didn't get the 7 because of the actual listing of the item they're selling in this situation as being luxury. Overall though, these last two examples have been absolute fire and great examples as to how you can really step up your Facebook Marketplace listings to sell more. You should not be surprised that these sellers have such high rankings because of how effective their listings are. I want to hear from you. What are you going to make sure that you include in your next Facebook Marketplace listing? If you made it this far in this video, you are the real MVP. Hit Hit that like button below to get your blue thumbs up trophy, consider subscribing for more content like this, and be sure to check out my video next week as I wrap up my part 4 of 4 of this recent Facebook Marketplace series. In case it's helpful for you and you're new here, I have the framework itself as well as other Facebook Marketplace tips that I'll leave a link to in the video description below. It's completely free and you can check it out by joining my email list. While you wait for the last part of this mini series on Facebook Marketplace, check out these videos that YouTube thinks you might like.